Hi, my name's Scott. I just want to give a quick little intro of how to read the dashboard that I posted. So we'll start off by sharing the screen. And on the upper left, you have the aggregate of all of the different subsets I have on the bottom. So you've got 6 different ways you can chop up the population, and they all come together to make the value on the upper left. So you have a group of 50, a group of 50. That's how they split up down below. The 68.5 is a group of 100. So it just essentially takes all the ones that are below. If you have zeros here, it essentially just doesn't include those. So that's why I'm using really just 2 groups here out of my possible 6. So just to give a quick little example, I'm going to take this over to where I currently live in Illinois, in Will County. This only does work for the United States. The data set I have does not specify down to the county level. So hopefully you're looking for the United States. On the upper left, upper right, you also see ascertainment bias. This is to account for poor testing or lack thereof data. Right now, let's just say you have 1% of the population is said to be positive. The ascertainment bias basically is saying if you put a 5 there, the thought is that we actually have 5x of that 1%, so 5% actually positive instead of 1. One other thing, the CDC was thinking of changing the actively positive period of time from positive test to when you're no longer able to transmit the virus from 14 days down to maybe 7 or 10. They did not do that, so I have not updated this. So it is still looking at a span of 14 days. All right, so on the very bottom, let's just look at what this means. So vaccinated, that means once we have the vaccinations that are currently out there, Pfizer and Moderna, they're thought to have around a 95% efficacy rate. So if that actually is true, once it actually goes into the population, I'm just making that assumption that it is. So that means you get to multiply that 1.3% of population by 0.05, and of course that makes a very small number, which is represented by this gray line, the 0.1. Now, why is it a trend? I just wanted to show how this has evolved over time. So our current value is the very one that's posted here and the very end of the little line. So I'm saying of our overall population, we're going to say 50 of them are vaccinated. So what that means is just one person by themselves in their bedroom at home, 0.1% chance that they are actively positive. When you take 50 together, you get 3.1. This is not the same as doing 0.1 times 50. It actually is, you multiply the opposite of what is true. So the percent likelihood that someone is not positive, and you put it to the whatever power of is the number of colleagues. So you put it to the 50 on the numerator and the denominator, and then put 1 minus that at the very end, and that comes up with your number. I don't really want to necessarily go into statistics with this, but I just want to make it clear that it's not simply this times 50. You actually do have to put it into a small little equation. So each one of these is done separately. So 3.1% chance for this group of 50, 47% chance for this group of 50. This low risk, so what do these mean? This is not the same as saying I go to a bar and it's a moderate chance that someone is positive. That's not the same thing, because you actually get that risk rate from the number of people you put here. So that would be double counting. What I'm trying to say is the type of people who do that kind of behavior have a higher risk overall, just simply because of the way they behave. So if someone likes to go to buffets, there's probably a better chance than the general population for them that they are actively positive. So if you can kind of define the group that you're looking at for each subset into things like that, as far as their risk behavior in general, that's what you would put here. Otherwise, just put low risk and it'll follow the general population. So I'm just going to say low risk. So it takes the base 1.3%, and we're going to do 50. So you've got this group at 47%. And together, making our 100 colleagues, you've got the 48.3% that's shown on the top. So I also want to briefly explain what this up here means. So the idea here is, when do you get to what is considered your safe risk rate? So is 48% too high? Is it too low? How do you get that lower? And you get that lower, of course, by changing the ratio of vaccinated versus non-vaccinated. So I'm just going to change this to 75. Now, note that it's 48 right now. I'm going to change this to 75, and I'm going to change this one to 25. And you can see that by going from 50 to 75% of the population being vaccinated, it went down to 30. So I'm essentially graphing each of these data points. And the orange and the blue is representing kind of that same population, except I'm changing the ascertainment bias to 5, just to show how significant that change actually is. So let's pretend you have 75% of the population vaccinated for a 100-person office where everyone's kind of just located in the general area of one another. If I put this up to 5, we're going to go from 30% overall up to 84. So a very, very significant change. So if you go by what most, I guess, news agencies are reporting, you would think 30% or so is accurate. But if you go by what a lot of scientists and epidemiologists are saying, with ascertainment bias being closer to 5, it's a much different picture. So you need to figure out what is appropriate for what you want to consider in your risk profile. I would suggest trying the 5 because that's what the experts are actually doing. And I got this actually from the Georgia Tech dashboard. I'm going to just pop it up really quickly so you can see it. So you can see their default is 5. It's either 5 or 10. So you don't see 1 on that option at all. So something to keep in mind. That is all I was going to share at the moment. So I hope that helps any questions that anyone has, and feel free to email me if you have any questions. And with that, I will turn off the recording.